Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to another Reddit Confessions video. And you guys are loving the Reddit Confessions series and just this type of video in general, so I'm gonna keep doing them as long as you guys keep watching them. And comment down below if you'd like to see more in the future. And today we're gonna be getting into something very exciting and interesting, some unexplainable Reddit confessions. All of these confessions are weird, unexplainable, interesting confessions. And thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate every single one of you, and thank you so much for watching. And these stories and confessions are great to listen to if you're sleeping, chilling, studying, relaxing, or just want to listen to some confessions. And thanks so much for stopping by. And before we get into it, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It's the channel's goal to be at 500,000 subscribers, so please subscribe to the channel. We're getting there, and I think we can do that kind of soon, so please subscribe. And all right, without further ado, let's get into some unexplainable Reddit confessions. My drug use finally caused me to lose my friends, my family, and most likely my job, and I deserve it all. Throwaway for obvious reasons. This is very long, but I need to write it down. First off, I'm a drug addict, and I have diagnosed major depression disorder and general anxiety disorder. I tried to self-medicate with my drugs of choice, OTC pills, diphenhydramine, which is Benadryl, and dextromethorphan, which is Robitussin. I can never find a consistent person to buy marijuana from, and when I did, I never really liked the high it gave me, so I went with OTC drugs. They are everywhere and easily accessible. I'm psychologically addicted to them. For about 10 years, my drug use has been my issue. It didn't really affect anyone except me. My immediate family knew I was struggling with it, but they would always support me and try to help with me with my recovery. But 6 months ago, that all changed. You should know that I deserve everything that happened to me. It started with losing my friends. I was tripping on roughly 1,500 milligrams of dextromethorphan. I ruined a friendship with a group of people in the blink of an eye. While I was tripping on the 1,500 milligrams, I called and left 2 very creepy and delusional social media voicemails on one of my good friend's sister's account. She literally has no idea who I am, and out of the blue, I left 2 delusional sounding voicemails. One was, "Hello, I know you're an expert in the medical field, and I would like to pick your brain on an idea that could revolutionize the medical field. I know this place down by the river where we can talk." Thinking I left a very well thought out message while tripping out of my mind, I hang up with a beam of self-confidence and pride that I'm actually going to put this into action. But what the actual fuck? I know a place down by the river? I have an idea that could revolutionize the medical field? Who the hell speaks like that to a person that has zero idea who I am? In my head, I'm thinking what a great idea I put forward and what a great restaurant down by the riverfront we could discuss it all. It was a quaint little new age vegan place that prides itself on making food that tastes delicious. I'm not vegan, but I had a place the week before with a woman who's vegan, and I figured I'd try the place. It was actually really good, so I thought it'd be a great place to hit it up again. She runs to her brother, one of my best friends, about what I said and how I sounded. He messaged me to get my shit together. And like that, boom, friendship lost. Gone in the blink of an eye. He is one of the most laid back individuals that rarely gets mad or pissed off, but I went too far. I always go too far. I brought an unknown individual into my fucked up life, and not only was it an unknown individual, but his sister. What the fuck was I thinking? I wasn't thinking I'm a drug addict. The news quickly spreads around the friend group. We are all pretty tight. Or well, we were pretty tight. Well, actually, they are still a pretty tight group. I'm just kicked out. And it's deserved. I deserve to lose my friends. Good people do not hang out with drug addicts and people who make awful decisions. Good people don't enable that behavior. They leave. And that's what they did. They left. I have no one to blame but myself. No more invites to go bowling. No more invites to go to a barbecue. No more invites to hang out and watch a sports game on a random night. It's gone. And it's my fault. The interesting thing at this point is that before I messaged his sister on my drug-addled, induced, insane brain, I was actually clean for about 6 months. Not too bad, right? 6 months is a long time to be clean for a struggling addict, but it doesn't matter. The first of 3 strong pillars that I used to lean on is reduced to nothing. I was never formally kicked out of a friend group. It was just understood. I know to not come around anymore. I know to seclude myself. I read between the lines. No more chances, no more forgiveness. I crossed the line. I went too far for the last time. And it's my fault. There's no one to blame but me. Knowing this, I turned to more drugs. I quit the Robitussin and go back to my favorite drug of choice, Benadryl. I'm down in a 50 to 125 milligram dihydroamphetamine pills a day, and this stuff stays in your system for days. My eyes are dilated for at least 2 days. I'm pale, and my skin is flushed. I can't put coherent sentences together, and I sweat like a gross pig, just drenched at any given moment. This is where I lose my family. My family has weekly dinners on Sunday just for us to hang out and catch up from the week. I come over stoned out of my mind for the first time in months, and the first thing my father says to me is, "I'm not going to deal with you when you're like this." He knew immediately. Everyone knew immediately when I walked in. It was left at that, but no one would talk to me or listen to what I said. I was ignored because they were not going to humor a drug addict. I was ignored. I didn't even realize I was being ignored. I kept thinking with the shit overconfidence the drug can give you that I was great and everything was awesome. Narrator. It wasn't. 2 weeks later, I noticed something. My family has a group chat, and all of a sudden they aren't talking in it anymore. I didn't realize that they made a new one. And they made a new one because they don't want to talk to a drug-addled human around 2 little nieces and 1 little nephew. That makes complete sense, right? Get the drug addict out. We don't want him anymore. Who wants a drug addict around? No one. I only put it together when I showed up randomly on a Sunday and my mother and father both say, "What are you doing here?" But not in the, "Oh, it's nice to see you," but in the, "Why are you over here stoned? We don't want you here." I replied with, "Sundays. We get together on Sundays." And they both just reply, "Oh." The next week was my brother's birthday, and I received a call 2 days before saying I was more than welcome to come, but that I had to pay my own way to the restaurant. That's a huge red flag. My parents never make us pay when we go out to eat as a family. The reason they said it is because I have to pay is because they were done supporting my addiction. If I was going to get stoned and come around the family blitzed out of my mind, I was not going to get any of the perks of the family. That makes total sense. For years, they've held my hand to try and help me with my drug issue, and they're finally done holding my hand. Something needed to change that showed me they wouldn't deal with my shit anymore. It's a wake-up call for me. It was deserved. I'm not blind to the consequences I'm bearing because of the choices I made. Duh, it's obvious. It makes sense. Maybe to them, and finally me, it will be the only way they get through to me. Nothing else worked, so maybe this might. On the day of my brother's birthday, I forgot it was his birthday. Usually a text would get sent out to the family group giving everyone a reminder, but remember, they aren't using the family group message I'm in. They made a separate one. They didn't even ask why I didn't show up. I brought it up and said, "Sorry, I forgot about your birthday." No one sent me a reminder message. They all just kind of looked at me like, "Oh, okay." They figured I was high, and you know what? I was high. And why would they want that around? They don't. They are finished. Today is Sunday. They used to put out a reminder text that we all get together today. And they'll put out a text, but I won't receive it. I've lost my family due to my own choices, just like my friends. Will seclude myself from them. It's my punishment. It's my hell. I deserve it. Now I've lost my friends and my family to do my decisions. I'm purposely secluded myself because it's the apt punishment for being the person I am. As a result, I've been doing more and more drugs. I've been going into work the past 3 weeks stoned. It's obvious, and my coworkers and boss are furious, though they won't say it to my face. It's a great, hard-working company, but no bullshit as well. It's literally a dream job and position, and I'm shooting myself in the foot. My outside of work decisions are influencing my work. Businesses don't give a shit the reason why you're having a bad time or whatever excuse you can come out with. It's a job and you work. They haven't told me yet, but I can feel the dominoes falling. People are very short with me. I'm ignored, and the big one, my boss holds monthly one-on-one meetings with her subordinates to gauge how they are feeling and how the job is going. Pretty nice, right? However, when I ask, she provides me with zero constructive criticism, and they are taking work away from me. Those are literally the 2 biggest red flags an employee is about to get fired. She also constantly talks about how this job may not fit for me, and how maybe I should look into working a different job. Fuck. However, this company is literally my dream job. All I can do is hopefully repair what little reputation I have left by doing the absolute best I can and working diligently to change my behavior. I have to get lucky. I have to hope I'm given the benefit of the doubt, but I'm literally down to the last straw. It's not outwardly said, but I can read the signs. If it's one thing I know how to do, it's to read people when they are disgusted with me and pissed at me. I'm so used to seeing these micro expressions on people's faces due to my addiction, disappointment, anger, disgust. Drug addicts know what those faces look like because they always see those faces. But it's not like I don't deserve it. It's absolutely unacceptable the way I'm behaving in a company that took a chance to invest in me. I can only hope it's not too late. I feel myself in my spiral downwards. I'm going to hit soon, and I'm going to hit hard. And there's no one to blame but me. I've already lost my friends and family. I'm most likely going to lose my job. My depression is at an 11 out of 10 right now, and thoughts of S-word are roaring through my brain. I'm of age. I can legally purchase a firearm. The only thing that's stopping me is a shred of hope that forgiveness is still possible. I need to get lucky, but there is no reason I deserve that luck. I am what choices I make, and I've made awful choices. I deserve the repercussions that have come and will come from the decisions I made. I received $2,000 from an unknown source and kept it. A few months back, one day, randomly, I got a notification that there's a new transaction and someone sent me $2,000 into my account. Now, getting this much money isn't unusual for me, but according to my knowledge, no payment was lined up at that time. I simply left it like that in the wait that someone would reach out to me and tell me they accidentally sent me that instead of someone else. So I just left it like that and forgot it. About 3 weeks later, when I checked my account, that money was still there, and I recalled how I got it. So I called my bank and asked them how the transaction was made. They said it was transferred through the mobile app, but they can't show the account details. I said okay and hung up the call. I waited one more week, and when no one reached out to me, I simply started considering it mine. Although I haven't spent it, they're still in my account, even after like 5 months. A payroll glitch that allowed vastly overpaid me for months. This happened years ago, and I've never told anyone. I think it's been long enough that they can't ask for money back, but I still get nervous. I was making about $26 an hour. During our shift, we would clock in and out of jobs as we started and completed them. Each job was for a different company. I worked at a fabrication shop. Certain jobs had tasks that would pay close to $70 an hour. The company was pretty stingy on handing those tasks out, but I would average 5 to 10 hours of my 40-hour work week, making $70 an hour. One day, they had their tech guys come in and change some things with their computers where we would clock in and out of our daily jobs. Nothing on my end changed. Clock in and out of the jobs per usual. I noticed my next paycheck was significantly higher and had about 20 hours of $70 hour work. I figured I didn't realize some of the tasks I was doing were at the $70 an hour rate and felt pretty lucky. Next week, I had about 25 hours of $70 an hour work. I felt lucky, but I suspected something was off. The third week, I mentally tracked all the tasks I did that were considered $70 an hour and was at about 10 hours for the week. Nope, another 22 hours at $70 an hour. I definitely knew something was off at that point, but I kept my mouth shut. Another guy mentioned something about his paycheck getting bigger, and we silently agreed it was better to not say anything. This went on for months. At a certain point, the office people asked a couple of questions about how we were clocking into jobs, but didn't ever say anything about our hours. IT was at our computer a couple times during the time frame, and after 45 months, they must have fixed the error. I'm not sure how much extra money I ended up with, but I knew it was a lot more than I should have. I kept all the extra in savings in case they came back and said they'd overpaid me and needed the money back. COVID hit, which slowed really bad, and they laid most of our department off. I ended up getting a job with another shop when work picked up back up. Do I feel guilty? Not really. This company was super shady in a lot of ways and never treated employees well. Should I have said something? I don't know. Maybe. My husband cheated on me at the bachelor party. Am I wrong? 12 years ago, we got married. I don't want to know all the details of his bachelor party, like already know strippers were going to be all over him. But in short, I know his bachelor's was the typical. He went to a strip club, he got very drunk, and they rented a bunch of hotels to sleep over the bar across the street. So that's all I really knew. But he never told me that he slept with his male-ordered slut. His friends hired 2 escorts for my husband to choose from. He chose the better looking one. We reunited with one of his friends in a conversation that came up. My husband looked unhinged while friend was telling the story. I stopped and said, "You did what?" I kept yelling and encouraging at him, and he was so confused why I was acting ghetto on him. I told him he cheated on me, but he got mad at me for such an accusation. He said this is literally what bachelor parties are for. You are stuck sleeping with only one woman for the rest of your life, so you have to get it out and bang a really hot one on the bachelor party. I was like, huh? I literally never heard of this, but I'm also not accustomed to American tradition, so I don't know if this is actually true. But from the movies, it sometimes looks like he is telling the truth. It sounds crazy enough, though. For my bachelorette party, I just got an expensive hotel room with all my girlfriends. We got really drunk and enjoyed ourselves. I just feel so betrayed, but it was also more than a decade ago, and we have 3 children now, happy marriage, and a life. This bothers me so much that he did this before we got married, but it was such a long time ago, and next time I'll never say a man is allowed to go to a bachelor party is to cheat on your soon-to-be wife. I'm just so shocked this is normal in Western wedding traditions. I catfish married men. Throwaway account. A little background to what started all of this. I started dating this guy 2 years ago. We were dating for a month before I decided to do a deep dive. I found out he was married and his wife was 7 months pregnant. I ghosted him and sent all our messages to his wife. They ended up staying together, but 6 months later, I still saw he was active on dating apps /Reddit. I sent those to her and she filed for divorce him then. So for the past 2 years, I've trolled the adultery /cake eaters /R4R forums on here looking for some of the vilest posts to see if I can connect with the men in hopes of outing them. Most of the stories these men post are either fake or played up to make them look like they are being successful. It's pathetic, to be honest, but once I have enough information and tell them the truth about what I'm going to do, the begging starts. The more they beg and plead for me not to ruin their lives, the funnier it is to me. All of them have offered to pay me not to send info to their wives. One guy offered me $10,000. I was shocked at how far they are willing to not get caught. You'd also think that this process would take time, but it's usually only a couple of days, with some pictures exchanged, and they're eaten out of my hand. The longest I took on one guy was 2 weeks. He was being extra cautious because, surprise, this was not his first time cheating. My total count so far is 24 men. The wives' reactions have been a mixed bag. Some decided to stay and work it out, and a couple ended up just blocking me. Out of the total, 8 of those women were pregnant. I currently have 3 wives sitting on the information I sent them that they are planning to use in their divorces. I'm posting now as an end of an era, as I'm getting into a serious relationship and cannot continue. Honestly, if you are moderately attractive, you can also do this. Cheaters, you are safe for now. But one day, you will come across someone like me. Edit. It felt good to finally get this off my chest. I've not been able to talk to a single soul about this. I'm going to delete this account now. And I've already deleted my catfish account. I think my boyfriend would be a little sketched that I put this scary amount of time into this. I married for money. I grew up poor. I lived in a car with my mom most of my life. I never got a chance. My mom even purposely held me back from school just so she could receive child support from my bio father longer. In my late teens, I started working a minimum wage job where I met my now husband. I was initially attracted to him because he's wealthy, but my husband is 9 years older than me. I even stole money from him when we were just dating because I never thought he would see anything with me long term. He still doesn't know I've stolen money from him. I didn't love him when I married him. The truth is, I did fall in love with him slowly after we got married. I knew the only way I could have a better life was using him as a ticket to finally live out of my means. My husband is a 7-figure earner. I used him to gain a college education. He put me through school. I have my BA in communication studies. I don't have any debt. I have traveled a bit too. I learned I don't like traveling though. Dealing with language barriers is just a lot. It makes the trip extremely stressful. And after you see so many places, it's just another museum, statue, or river, just in a different location. I did work after I got my degree. I worked in marketing and I didn't like it. I dabbled in other types of work, but I didn't want to work anymore, and my husband said I'll never have to work again if I don't want to, and I love that. I used to feel bad because I don't have any ambition or work drive, but honestly, nobody in this world would want to work a boring 9-to-5 job if they didn't have to, either, so I don't feel bad anymore. My husband did cheat on me a couple of times throughout our marriage, but I don't care. I'm staying because I need to survive. I really don't care for love. Love doesn't pay for your bills or your lifestyle. I grew up in poverty, and I'm never going back to that. I retired from working in my 20s, and I don't regret it. I do have children, and I love them so much. I also reconciled with my mother, and I bought her own place near my house. I accidentally uncovered a huge scam, and now I'm being threatened to keep quiet. I have a confession that's both shocking and terrifying. I'm 20 female, and I accidentally uncovered a massive scam involving a well-known company. What's even crazier is that I'm now being threatened to stay silent. It all started when I noticed some discrepancies in the financial records at my part-time job. I initially thought it was just poor bookkeeping, but as I dug deeper, I realized it was part of a large-scale fraud involving millions of dollars. The company was defrauding investors and manipulating financial reports to cover up their tracks. I tried to report it through proper channels, but my findings were quickly dismissed. Then I began receiving anonymous threats, warning me to stop digging and to keep quiet about what I discovered. They even threatened my safety and the safety of my family if I didn't comply. The situation is incredibly scary. I'm caught between wanting to do the right thing and protect myself and my loved ones. I've been struggling with the moral implications of staying silent while knowing that people are being deceived and harmed. But the threats are real, and I'm terrified of what might happen if I push too hard. I don't know how to handle the situation, and I'm grappling with the fear of speaking out versus the danger of remaining silent. I broke up with my girlfriend when she refused to sign a prenup. I need some perspective on a situation that's been eating at me. I, M25, was planning to marry my girlfriend, who's female, 24 of 3 years. Let's call her Sarah. Everything seemed perfect until I brought up the idea of signing a prenuptial agreement. Sarah blew up at me, accusing me of not trusting her and seeing our relationship as doomed from the start. She argued that a prenup is unnecessary because we love each other and plan to spend our lives together. I tried to explain that a prenup is just a precaution, something to protect both of our interests in case things don't work out in the future. I have investments and assets that I've worked hard for, and I want to make sure they're protected, but Sarah wouldn't hear it. She said if I can't trust her enough to marry her without a prenup, then maybe we shouldn't get married at all. I was just taken aback by her reaction, but I stood my ground and said that I wasn't willing to risk my financial future. Eventually, things escalated. We ended up breaking up over this issue. Sarah accused me of prioritizing money over our relationship, but I feel like she's the one who's being unreasonable. Now I'm left wondering if I was wrong for insisting on a prenup and if I should have just agreed to marry her without one. Am I the asshole here? My husband is obsessed with another woman. Been with my husband for over 10 years now, married of 3 years. We have a 1.5-year-old daughter. I found out the night of her birthday party that he spent our entire relationship obsessed with his ex-girlfriend from high school. Kissed her when she came to visit the US a few weeks before, and he was planning to leave me and our daughter to be with her in France. The only thing that kept him here was a panic attack he had while trying to book the flights that led him to an epiphany and made him realize he was making a mistake. It feels like our entire relationship hinges on the fact that he had a panic attack before booking the flights. After it happened, he tried to love bomb me for weeks until he realized I was not reciprocating. I am a very affectionate person, and that all stopped, not even intentionally. I feel like I've been living with a roommate for months, and he has the audacity to complain about our lackluster sex life lately. He did all of this right when he finally got everything when he always talked about: degrees, jobs, house in the city we want, and a baby. I asked him to go to therapy to figure his shit out, and he hasn't even tried. He has gone to therapy before for panic attacks. He wants to move on like nothing ever happened, and I'm trying to figure out if I want to even love him again. I know I could try and make it work and fall back in love with him, but I don't know if I want to. Give me your unfiltered thoughts, but please don't be mean to me. I really can't take much more right now. Edit, just a reminder for the asshats blaming me. He was obsessed with her for years before we started dating, and he never handled or fixed it. So no, it isn't my fault for the reason and a billion other reasons. I've loved him, supported him, and compromised in a lot of ways for our relationship. I broke up with my boyfriend because he yelled at me. I'm a 29-year-old woman. He and I dated for about 8 months. Our relationship was fine. We did things together. We had fun. There weren't any obvious red flags, but I always got this feeling that he didn't value me much. At times, he seemed a bit cold and acted like he was annoyed with me for no apparent reason. It all came to a head when, 3 days ago, when we were hanging out at my place, he asked me to hand him the TV remote. I was sitting right next to him on the couch and was working on my laptop. I reached for the remote without looking and accidentally handed him my phone instead. I thought it was funny after I realized what I had done, and I laughed as I handed him the actual remote. He had the same annoyed look on his face. He began yelling at me and called me a stupid bitch. I was stunned, and I have never raised my voice at him or disrespected him in any way. I did not deserve to be treated this way. I told him our relationship was over and asked him to leave. He told me to calm down and stop overreacting. I simply walked to the front door, opened it wide, and told him to get out and never come back. He walked out telling me I was being dramatic. The very next day, I returned the presents he had given me. They meant nothing to me now. My friends are telling me I did overreact and I shouldn't just end a relationship because he yelled at me once, and have asked me to patch things up. His friends too began harassing me on social media. I blocked them. All. His friends, not mine. I'm not going to reach out to him to try to work things out, as some people have suggested, because I know that I do not deserve this treatment. I've always treated him with respect, and I deserve that in return. I just needed to tell somebody. Thank you for reading. I've realized I detest my boyfriend. We've been together almost 3 years. We live together. I support us 100%. In the time we've been together, he's worked maybe 2 months. He's depressed and anxious, and he steals all the oxygen and joy out of every room. He never wants to go anywhere and then complains that we never go anywhere. I got him an interview at my work, a moderately well-paid entry-level position. He refused to go, saying he wasn't ready, then spends time complaining about not having a job. You get the idea. Everything in our lives revolves around him and his moods. He cries, yells, or just sighs incessantly. There's no laughter or happiness in our home. I walk on eggshells all the time. I dread coming home from work. He grabbed me a few days ago and shook me so hard I'm bruised on my upper arms. The apartment is in my name, and he literally has nowhere to go because he has no friends and he refuses to contact his family. So he'd be homeless, and I can't do that to him, or any human really. I fantasize about being alone all the time, like only cooking or shopping or doing anything just for myself. It would be incredible to be able to breathe again. His birthday was last week, and I saved up for a month to get him something related to his hobby. When I gave it to him, he said, "I just told you I didn't want to do this anymore. What were you thinking?" I think at that point, any love I've still felt for him just died. He doesn't cook, clean, care for his dog, or do anything but play video games. I'm trapped in a prison, and I just don't really care what happens to me anymore. I don't want to die, but I wouldn't be upset if I didn't wake up tomorrow, if that makes sense. I know I should do, but I'm just a dumb bitch. Thanks for reading. Typing it out helps. Edit. Well, this reached the front page, and now I'm super uncomfortable with everything, so I'm not going to be posting anymore. I appreciate all the advice, the tough love too. Hopefully I'll be back with a happy update in the future. Thanks for everything, Reddit. I was kidnapped when I was 8 and held in captivity for 3 years. 26 female. I was picked up by a stranger from school posing to be my dad's friend, saying that he would drop me off at the airport to catch a flight with my dad. Not only did I actually have to travel with my dad that day, but this man somehow knew my dad was getting off early from work. He told me that morning that he had to go fishing with his friend. He did this a lot. He told me that my dad sent him to pick me up and meet him directly at the airport. I believed him, convinced my teachers I knew him, because I was excited to go to the airport, and left with him. I was held in a captivity for 3 years. I was R-worded, beaten, starved. 11-year-old me had learned to make him trust me. It started with us going around in his car. Although I had to sit in the back seat and stay quiet the whole time, he let me come into his kitchen and make food for myself. He let me clean his house. The day we went to feed the ducks at the park, I ran as fast as my weak legs could carry me. Because of the crowd, I think he lost me. I begged the family for help, telling them I was kidnapped and I wanted to go home. I told them my name, my school's name, and my parents' names. Long story short, they caught him. He K'd himself. I was back with my dad, my sisters, my dogs. I'm now happily married to my wife of 4 years, still undergoing therapy. Have a good job, and a baby on the way. Edit. I'm very sorry for the last line. I realize it doesn't end well for most, and I got lucky. But the only way I kept going was telling myself I'm going to escape, and then I'm going to get better. I'm going to love myself again. I'm going to get past my trauma. Since this worked for me, I assumed saying it will end well would work for other people too. Of course, it wasn't right though. I steal hermit crabs from souvenir shops. You know those hermit crabs they sell at pest, tourist, and coastal souvenir shops? The ones with shells that have badly painted cartoon characters on them? The ones that come free with the purchase of a little plastic carrier with a thin layer of brightly colored gravel, some flake food, and a shallow water dish with a sea sponge in it? Maybe your parents let you get one while you were on vacation as a child because it's such a simple little pet. Maybe it lived for a few weeks or months or even a couple of years in that plastic little box before you noticed a bad smell and found it dead. And maybe you shrugged it off because it's just a little crab and they don't live long, right? Those crabs have a lifespan of 30 plus years. Those crabs are highly social and need to be kept in groups. Those crabs require area that's around 80% humidity or higher in order to breathe, and kept around 26 Celsius or 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Those crabs need separate pools of both fresh and salt water, using marine aquarium salt, that are deep enough to fully submerge themselves in so they can regulate their internal salinity. They need large enclosures with deep substrate to burrow down in so they can molt. They need a varied and nutrition-rich diet with fresh fruit and veggies. The little crab you got as a souvenir in the same place selling custom airbrush shirts and shark tooth necklaces died a slow and miserable death. It's a miracle it made it so far to begin with, as all the hermit crabs sold in these shops and major pet retailers are collected from the wild. They have their natural shells broken off their bodies with a hammer, so they have no choice but to wear some kitchen-y garbage with Spider-Man painted on it. Roughly 50% don't survive the process, and no one seems to care. I care. Several years ago, I was one in those shops and saw hundreds of hermit crabs kept in a bare, unheated, open-air cage with only a shallow dish of water. I could smell them before I saw them. Dead little bodies rotting in the shells and limbs strewn about. Children were encouraged to pick them up and play with them and beg their parents for one because they're hardly more complicated than a pet rock, right? If I bought some of them, I could give them a chance to live, but in doing so, I'd be supporting a cruel industry and funding the death of so many more. I'm not sure how long I paced around the shop with my moral dilemma before a sudden realization hit me. I have pockets. As casually as I could, I picked out a couple sickly crabs and gently put them in my pocket. My heart was racing, but no one stopped me when I walked out the door. And so started my life of crime. I don't do it often, but if I'm in town with one of those souvenir shops, I'll pop on in and jailbreak a few hermit crabs. I gravitate towards the weak ones and those missing limbs. They're on their way out, but I want them to have a chance, or to at least die as comfortably as they can. The ones that have pulled through are healthy and active now, a colony of contraband crabs. I love the background noise of their shells clacking against their terrarium and each other as they go and about their crab business. I'm a little drunk and sentimental tonight, which is my excuse for writing all this. I have a feeling most folks won't care to read it all, but I hope they do, and somehow it'll make a difference. If you made it through my rambling, thanks. May you never be pinched. I cut contact with a mute girl who only talked to me. At my school, there was a mute girl. She was allowed to wear headphones at all times and never spoke to a single person for the entirety of high school. We went to the same college. If you're not from the UK, college here isn't the same. She was the only person from my school that attended this college with me, and she spoke to me and only me. She would come and sit next to me all the time. She would only whisper short, to the point replies, and her voice was very deep and strange. I soon realized that I was the only person outside of her home that she spoke to. It felt really special to me, and I fell in love with her pretty quickly. But almost immediately, I started to realize she was pretty crazy. She would show me really weird videos she had made that were like horror, gore cartoons. They weren't that bad, but I definitely was a bit alarmed by them. She showed me that she had multiple scarifications on her arms, which are basically tattoos made of scars. Only about 2 weeks into this, we started dating, and then I went to her house. I will never forget this. Her mom came to me as soon as I walked in and took me into another room and gave me a big speech. Basically, what she said was that she had not spoken to anyone other than her mom, dad, and sister since she was 7, and that I have an opportunity to help her live a normal life. She also said that she is a very powerful antipsychotic and that she can be erratic, that her room is a mess. I felt a bit nervous after this. After this, I went up to her room and went inside. It was a rather large room with black bin bags on the windows, making the room pitch black with the lights off, and there were hundreds of Relentless and Monster cans everywhere. It also smelled pretty bad. I spent about 8 hours there. It was the most intense and strange time in my whole life. Firstly, she told me that she hears voices, and they tell her that she is a demon that corrupts people, and that I am now corrupted. She said that she now feeds off of me, that if I abandoned her, she would lose her ability to speak. She then started crying and told me everything about her life, and what pain she lives in. She showed me all these scarifications she had done, and she recorded them. She played like 30 seconds of one. It's the most disturbing thing I've ever seen. She showed me a video of her choking herself unconscious, and then she made me do some sort of ritual speech. After we had S-word, which was very uncomfortable because she was trying to get me to hurt her and strangle her, and when I didn't, she dug her nails into my arm. After this, she drank like 3 monsters in about 20 minutes. She then started talking about S-word, and then she asked me if I wanted to leave. I feel very bad about this because she had basically put all her trust into me and wanted my help, but I couldn't do it. I gave her a long hug and got out of there. It was like 4 a.m. I have never, and I'm sure I will never, see crazy on a level anything like that. It was very scary. The fact is, if she were a man, I never would have interacted with her, and I only tried to have anything with her because I found her attractive. But even with that said, this has tortured me for years now. I feel as if I'm doomed her to live a life of isolation. After this, she wouldn't sit with me, and I don't think she came into college much. I only saw her about 20 more times over the course of 2-ish years, and she never even looked my way. The only contact I've had with her was about a week ago. She sent me a message on Facebook that said, "I wish you could be free from me. You haunt me. I love you," which made me cry and keeps making me cry. I did feel our souls bond in that short time, but she's crazy. Nothing I can really do, I think. And all right, guys, that wraps up Unexplainable Reddit Confessions. I really hope you enjoyed, and let me know down in the comments below, would you like to see more confession videos like this? Because I'm definitely down to keep making them. I enjoy them. If you guys enjoy watching them, and just comment down below what your favorite story was. I appreciate you watching to the end. It means a ton. If you haven't liked the video, please like and subscribe to the channel. I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you so much for watching, and this is Snook, and I'll see you next time.